Hey, hi, how are you? I'm going to try things a little different for this video. So, yeah, I'd appreciate let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. Just going to have a plain background, seated, and yeah, pretty simple. But anyway, there's the question. Are you wasting an opportunity? Are you wasting a safety moment? Some of you might not be sure what I mean. And I'm sure, you know what, if you come to think of it, you've been the victim of one of those merciless safety moments, maybe even a perpetrator. Now, you're likely wondering what I'm talking about. And what I'm talking about is the icebreaker for a meeting, but a safety related one. A way to shoehorn safety into the meeting in an effort to satisfy usually some external agenda, whether it's like the certificate of recognition or maybe some management or executive trying to align with, well, who knows, something. Anyway, either way, if you've experienced it on the wrong end or the wrong way, it's likely been a very painful experience. So, first, what is a safety moment? Now, I suppose there's several definitions or thoughts on the subject, but let's talk about what it isn't. And what it isn't meant to be is some long drawn out lecture or lesson or something like that. It's meant to be a short and sweet, to the point, a key point, and the key point here is short. A safety anecdote, if you will, shared from either a personal outside of work perspective or maybe even a personal at work perspective. And I'm going to share a few examples later on at the end, so do me a favor, stick around. But let's look at some examples of the wastage, shall we? Wasting the moment. So let's start with the manager or whoever. Whom? Well, anyway, the person in charge. You've likely heard this before. When someone comes in and starts off the meeting, they'll say, hey, does anyone have a safety moment they'd like to share? Anyone have a safety moment? Anyone? And yeah, preparation is awesome, isn't it? You can pretty much anticipate the eye rolls and everybody unholstering their phones because the next few minutes are going to be like watching paint dry or grass grow. Or you know what? Maybe you'll likely just even feel embarrassed for the person that decided to bring up their own safety moment. Or let's say it's the new safety person and they're going to give their safety moment. And they step up, ready to give their safety moment, and you hear this. Give me a minute. I didn't prepare anything or I didn't bring anything. And then, yeah, clenched fists, grinding teeth all around because you know what? You're killing that safety culture just 2 boring minutes at a time. Cue the sad music. No, I'm just kidding. We're not going to cue the sad music. It doesn't have to be like that. I have some suggestions for those safety meetings at the meetings that you're going to hold and maybe some tips if the responsibility falls on your shoulders to bring about that safety moment. So managers, you're first, or meeting host, or whoever's running the show. Yeah, we're not going to get into that whoever thing again. Instead of asking someone if they have a safety moment and then allowing everybody to suffer through somebody recounting how they were at great risk on the weekend while hanging a picture whilst standing on a chair, and that everyone needs to invest in a stepladder if they can't afford to hire a handyman. No, please, for all that is good, spare the suffering, get organized, come prepared, or hit somebody up and assign them beforehand, like a day or two prior. And then on that note, just to get everybody involved and boost your safety culture, considering rotating the responsibility depending on the frequency of your scheduled meetings. Have it rotated through your staff. And since you're assigning it, make sure everyone knows the parameters to keep it to 2 or 3 minutes in length, tops. There's no need for death by PowerPoint. Everyone shudders and dies a little bit inside when they hear those words. Don't worry, I brought a few slides for a 2-minute presentation. And now, you presenters, here's a few tips that you can also use to make this worthwhile. Do your research. Number 1, do your research, but make it meaningful and purposeful, and then beyond that, relevant to your audience. Personalize it. Think about what's occurring at this point in time or even recent work events. And what I mean by recent work events, I mean recent incidents in the workplace, recent inspections, recent hazard reports, etc. And beyond that, if you've had a boring few weeks and nothing recent of note has happened recently, What about what's happened in the news? I mean, there's lots of material. We just have to go and look. Now, the best thing that you can do is follow this pattern when you're going to present. So the first thing is what? The next is so what? And then now what? So here's an example. What I'm going to do is I'm going to keep it simple. At the time of the recording of this video, it's early spring here in Alberta. And one of the things that happens is the freeze, thaw, freeze cycle. So, you can say something like, lead in with the what first. It's early spring here, so that means warm, cold, warm, cold. In other words, that melt and freeze and melt cycle. The next thing you want to do, you've just done the what. Now you want to do the so what. What you're going to say is this freeze-thaw cycle means more often than not, you're going to get lulled into a false sense of security. That path you're walking on may just look wet, but is it? It might be black ice. And, that black ice that everybody talks about and then wipes out or injures themselves. And then what you can do is finish off with now what? So with that noted, walk with caution. Watch where you put your feet. Try to walk on dry areas or where there's sand and salt has been applied. And please wear sensible footwear and go the extra mile and report areas where someone might have the potential to slip and fall so that maintenance can deal with it. Does that make sense? So just to recap, what? That freeze-thaw cycle. And then so what? It may look fine, but it's really likely slippery. And then the now what? Leading to sensible shoes and watch where you're going, etc. Okay, here's another one, a safety-related one, another one. Let's say hypothetically there's been some vehicle break-ins at work at the parking lot. So you can lead off just like so. There have been a few reports in the last month. People have had their vehicles broken into and their belongings stolen along with damage to their vehicles. Now, thieves are obviously being attracted to what they can easily see, things like change sitting in the console, wallets, clothing, or even parking passes. Before you leave your vehicle, take your valuables with you. Stow things under the seat or in the trunk, and avoid leaving anything with your home address on it in the vehicle. Ensure your doors are locked. And now there's something you can do is you can add something like a value added now what part 2. When leaving work for the parking lot though, try to leave in pairs or groups of 2 and 3. Walk straight to your vehicle. Have your keys ready and if possible, unlock your doors before you reach your vehicle. Once again, what? So what? Now what? Each example here took less than a minute and provided a good, concise safety moment. So keep it simple, keep it short, and keep it to the point. Keep it relevant to your audience. Don't waste that safety moment thinking that you have to fill the silence with your voice. It's certainly not necessary. Now, if you want to expand upon the idea of a safety moment and the setting makes sense, you can even think of giving a toolbox talk. And if you want to know more about that toolbox talk and giving a toolbox talk, you can have a look at this video up here. Now, after all, leaders, good leaders inspire others. And safety talks are just part of that. You don't have to have a title, a designation, or certificate. You just have to have passion and be able to direct that passion purposely and demonstrate it by doing and saying the right things. Not because you have to, because, well, it's simply they're the right things to say and do. Okay? Take care. Bye for now.